categorize them into 4 sections. That is, first one is patient-specific anatomical models.
So,
Then,
excuse me, sir.
yeah,
Sorry to disturb you, sir. Your PPT is not changing.
it is not changing.
It's on the first slide itself, sir.
Just a second.
I think you need to show the slideshow.
I have enabled the slideshow actually.
Yeah, but we are not able to see it.
Sir, I would suggest that you stop sharing and then share it again.
Can you see it changing now?
Yes, sir. It's on agenda.
Can everybody see it changing the slides now?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Hello? Can everybody see it now?
So we can see the PPT. Please change the slides once. We'll see.
I'm changing the slide right now.
No, sir. We can't see.
Now can you see? I'm changing the slides right now.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes,
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I will just repeat about the overview. So I was showing these images, the images which you see here. As I told you about the overview, that it is not just used in orthopedic or dental or oral and maxillofacial surgeries. It can be used for other applications as well, such as prosthetic limbs, then hip and knee implants, and surgical guides, all those things. The image, the first image which you can see here, shows the different kinds of anatomical models. The middle one is printed with a transparent material, and on the right hand side, the one which you see is a titanium implant, customized titanium implant, printed with DMLS technology. So as I was talking about applications of 3D printing in healthcare industry. So if I have to categorize the applications, I can categorize them in 4 broad sections. The first one can be patient-specific anatomical models. Second one will be patient-specific implants. Third one will be patient-specific cutting and drilling guides, and fourth one will be patient-specific prosthetics and orthotics. So as you can see here in the images, the first image, the image of the hip shows a hip implant which was customized here. The second one shows the cutting guides which were printed, designed and printed, and then they can fit on the mandible or whatever anatomy you are making the guides for, and it provides this with the slots for the cutting. So it will give a proper cut during the surgery as per what you have designed or simulated on your software. And the picture on the top shows the prosthetic leg, which was designed actually in Australia, and printed with a technology called SLS. So these are the images for that, and these are the various iterations for the specific leg model. Now we will move to different 3D printing technologies which are used in healthcare. I have mentioned them in their full name as well as the abbreviations which are normally used in the industry. So first one will be the fused deposition modeling, or also called as FDM. Then stereolithography, selective laser sintering, direct metal laser sintering, color jet printing, and polyjet printing. So there are other technologies as well which are nowadays coming up, but these are the main technologies which we normally see in the healthcare sector. So as you can see in the images, the first image which you see on the top left hand side is a FDM printer. It is a very basic FDM printer, and as you can see on the top, there is a spool of material uh, from which a filament is coming out and going into the extruder of the printer. So we will talk more about each and every technology of in the upcoming slides, but these are the images I wanted to show you how the printers look. The one on the right hand side is a SLA machine, which is a stereolithography technology, and it is a desktop's SLA machine. The one which is on the bottom left hand side is again SLS machine, and it is it is very a high temperature environment printer. So as you can see, the construction of the printer, it is very rigid, and it has a lot of metallic walls around it. The DMLS printer looks very similar to SLS printer. So by just looks of it, you won't be able to distinguish that if it is a SLS printer or DMLS printer. But these are the three printers I'm showing right now. Now we will move to classification of 3D printing technology. So if I have to classify all the 3D printing technologies, they are primarily classified into broadly 6 different parts. And I have also written each and every technology's name besides just below the technology with which it is named, the broad name of the technology. So when we consider material extrusion, because in FDM the filament is extruded through a nozzle, so FDM comes under material extrusion type. Then the second one is vat polymerization. Vat is nothing but there will be a puddle of resin or different kind of photopolymer resins, and then laser is used to cure those photopolymers. So our SLA, which is stereolithography, and DLP are the two technologies which comes under vat polymerization. The third one will be powder based bed fusion. Whatever I have shown you before this slide, the SLS technology that comes under powder bed fusion, because in SLS they use powder and laser to make the models, 3D models. The fourth one, you can say it is material jetting, wherein which is very similar to what our normal 2D, how our normal 2D printers work. There will be a jet out of which normally in 2D printers the ink comes out, But in 3D printers, there will be different types of materials which comes out of that or the small orifices, and they are deposited on the bed. So that is material jetting, and our polyjet technology comes under this. The next one is binder jetting. Binder jetting is nothing but again very similar to what how the our 2D printers work. Only thing, instead of different colors, a binding material or a binding uh, material is used to bind the powder, and layer by layer it binds it, and you can get a model. The last one is powder bed fusion, which is nothing but your all the metal printers come under this technology, which is nothing but DMLS, SLM, and EBM. So normally in healthcare technology, first two are normally used. So we will be talking about these two in the upcoming slides. So let's start with the actual technologies and how they work. Okay. So the first one, as I have mentioned, the first one is fused deposition modeling, also known as FDM. So FDM is a very basic 3D printing technology where a filament of different kind of material is extruded through a small nozzle, and it is fused to a first layer, and it prints layer by layer to create an object. What happens is normally the extruder part and the nozzle part is kept at a specific temperature depending on the various technologies, various materials which are used. So if let's say you are using ABS material, the nozzle is kept at around 220 to 30 degrees Celsius, and which is the glass transition temperature of ABS. And it when the filament comes inside the extruder, it just melts and comes out of that small nozzle. The nozzles, the diameter of the nozzles can range from anywhere between 0.2 mm to 1 mm. So there are different nozzles depending on the uh, uh, like how big the model is and how fast you want to print. Depending on that, you can choose the different nozzles, and it is extruded through that nozzle, and layer by layer the object is created. So if I have to talk about different, even in FDM, there are different kinds of orientations of the printers. So the first one which you see on the left hand side is called as a Cartesian printer. Second one is a Delta style printer, and third one is nothing but your uh, Core XY type printer. So I will just tell you about what are the differences between all these technologies, all these different orientations. The first, in the Cartesian printer, as you can see, this axis which I'm showing right now is your Y axis. This is your X axis, and the rods which you see are the Z axis. So what happens in Cartesian printers? All the axes are controlled by different motors. So for X axis there will be one motor, for Y axis there will be one motor, and for the Z axis there will be one motor. So this entire X assembly is controlled with a motor which is connected to Z axis, and as the Z axis move, the entire X axis assembly also moves with it. So that is how the printing takes place. And as you can see here, the extruder is actually connected to the Z axis. So the your print bed, which is where the material is deposited, only moves in X and Y directions. It will not move in Z direction, but your extruder will move in Z direction. That is how you get a 3D model. This is how the all three axis moves in Cartesian style printers. The second one is delta style printer, wherein, as you can see, the bed where the material is deposited is fixed at at the base plate of the printer. So this will not move anywhere. Rather, all the X, Y, and Z motions are controlled by three different kinds of motors. So these motors move in with different speeds, and according to that, the print head moves to all the sections of the build plate. That is how the delta printer works. If you compare any of these orientations with delta printers is uh, uh, very taxing on your motherboard. So it takes lot of mathematical calculations to maneuver your delta printers. So delta printers are not that famous when it comes to FDM printers, uh, but yes, they are there. And main advantage of delta printers is you can have a very big Z axis. So if you are making a part which is very long with respect to height, you can use a delta printer. The third one is nothing but your core XY orientation, wherein your X and Y axis are stationary. They normally don't move. And your Z axis is nothing but your bed, which moves which moves up and down. That is Z direction. The difference between the Cartesian and the Core XY style printer is your X and Y motion takes place with the help of two motors. They are not two independent motors, but both of them are used collectively to move your print head. So let's say if your one printer stops moving, your print head will not move in all the direction. It will move in only one diagonal direction. That is how the Core XY uh, orientation works. And the main advantage of Core XY technology or orientation is that it is very fast, because two motors are basically used collectively to move your axis. So that is how the Core XY orientation works. So what are the applications of FDM in healthcare? So if you remember the four broad categories which I have shown earlier, so out of that, FDM is mainly used for your patient-specific anatomical models. Reason, there are two main reasons. It is a kind of a fast technology, depending on what kind of printer you are using. So for a small parts like this hand, it will not take more time to print. And you have different materials which such as PLA, ABS. ABS is nothing but your acetylene butadiene styrene, which is actually autoclave, which is actually sterilizable. So if a surgeon wants to take this model into OT, they can actually sterilize it with some kind of technology, and they can take it in the surgery. The main disadvantage, I would say, of the FDM printers is the resolution. As you can see here as well, the resolution of the printer is not that great. So the surface finishes which you get uh, are very rough, and sometimes you get some kind of blobs, which are excess material which is there on the surface. So that is the main disadvantage of FDM printer. One more disadvantage, which I also I said that it is a fast technology, but if you want to put multiple parts on one print bed, then your print time increases exponentially. So if you have only one model to print, that is okay, you can print it faster. But if you have multiple models which you have kept it on the build platform during the build preparation, then it will take a lot of time, and the print times can go up to like 1 day, 2 day, something like that. So that is another disadvantage when it comes to FDM printing. So these are the two models which I'm showing right here. As you can see in the second model also, it is a skull model. And as you can see in this area, the resolution is not that great. Also in this technology, the support structure is made with the same material as that of your actual model material, and it is printed with the same material, and then you have to peel it off. And while peeling, what happens is sometimes where the support structure is meeting your actual surface of your model, it will not give a proper finish to the surface, and it will have some blobs or some irregularities on the surface. So that is another, you can say, a disadvantage of this technology. Um why it is used in healthcare application, again for the anatomical models, and if you want to say about the advantage of it, it is a very cheap technology. So models can be printed with very less amount of money, so that is why it is used in healthcare sections for pre-surgical planning models. So now we will move to our second technology, which is nothing but stereolithography, which is one of the oldest technology when it comes to 3D printing. Also, it is known as SLA. Uh, so it is right now one of the most popular and widespread technique which is used in the world of additive manufacturing, also in healthcare sector. So what normally happens in stereolithography is there is a high powered laser which hardens the liquid resin which is contained in the razor wire to create a desired shape. And again the process happens layer by layer. So after each layer, after laser cures one layer, your build platform goes down and another layer of resin comes on over that, and the laser cures that layer as well. So layer by layer it builds the model. So this is the basic working principle, I would say. So there will be a laser source. You can see a resin tank here, and in the tank there will be UV curable resin. So there will be different kinds of photopolymers which are available. The one which you see inside in a violet color are basically the cured layers. So as I said, once one layer is cured, the build plate moves down with with a specific amount of distance, which we can actually change during the like while preparing the build. So normally you can print with a layer height of zero point 0.1 mm or little lesser than that. So that is with that much of distance, the build plate will move down after curing each layer, and then laser will cure the another layer. So this is a XY scanning mirror. So laser will not directly fall on the photopolymer, but there will be assembly of different mirrors which will move and direct that laser towards the UV curable resin. So this is how the SLA technology works. Again, there are two different approaches for that. the one which you see here, in here, the build platform goes down after every layer. But in some of the printers, you will see the laser assembly is at the bottom side, and this entire assembly is flipped upside down. So in that case, your build platform goes inside the resin, and after every layer it moves up. So basically it is a inverted 3D printer. So basically you will see this kind of arrangement in desktop style 3D printers, because there won't be much space on the top to incorporate your entire laser assembly, mirror assembly, all those things. So that is why they take that approach. But if you see all the industrial grade SLA machines, they normally work with this principle, wherein the bed moves down after every layer. So how SLA is used in healthcare applications. So as I have showed two images here. These are not the only two ways how the SLA can be used, but just to tell you about this is a model of a mandible printed with a transparent resin. And as you can see, the teeth and the roots of the teeth are printed in different color. So uh, in SLA technology, you can print your parts in such a way that if you want to see internal structures, you can have a transparent resin, and the teeth can be printed in different color materials, and then they can be assembled together. This is how they have achieved this part. The another example which I'm showing um, uh, is a model of a heart. So this heart is printed with a flexible resin. So SLA comes with a wide variety of materials which can be used for healthcare sections. So one that I have already told you about is ABS, that can be used normally for the anatomical models. Then there are some materials which are called as surgical guide materials. So as I have mentioned earlier also, you can use your 3D printing to make cutting and drilling guides for actual surgeries. So this material is very important when it comes to SLA, because that can be printed and directly used on the in the surgery. The main advantage of that material is it is a autoclavable material and a biocompatible material. So because the guide will sit on the bone or any structure inside the body of the patient, it should be a biocompatible material. So in SLA you get those materials as well. The material which I'm telling you about, the heart, is basically elastic material which comes in different shore hardnesses. Shore hardnesses is nothing but your uh, the flexibility of your elastic material. So as the shore hardness increases, your flexibility decreases and it becomes more and more rigid. So the one which I'm showing right now is printed with 50 shore hardness. So it is a quite flexible material, and you can have a feel of actual heart in that material. So we get 50A, 70A, and 90A materials in SLA technology. So these are the basic few materials which are normally used in healthcare sector. So now let's move to selective laser sintering. It is nothing but also called as SLS. In this technology, what happens is very similar to SLA when it comes to the operation of the printer, but the material used are totally different. As I told you, in SLA you use a liquid resin, but in SLS you use powder. So there are different kinds of materials which are converted into their powder form, and that is used to print your part. In this technology also, they use a laser which is directed on the powder, and with the help of that laser's power, you can fuse two parts together with the pressure. So that is how the SLS technology works, and that process of like pushing two layers or one on each other is called sintering. So that is how the name is selective laser sintering. So this is the basic working principle when it comes to SLS. As you can see, there is a powder delivery system, then there is a fabrication section, and there is a laser. So these are the three main uh, parts of the SLS printer. What normally happens is, this is a powder delivery system. You can see this piston here. So this piston moves upwards, and there is a roller which rolls a very fine layer of your powder on your actual fabrication area. So this is your fabrication area. The blue one which you can see here is your build platform, uh, where the roller spreads a very fine layer of powder, and then what happens is the laser comes, and there is a scanning system, again very similar to your SLA, where there will be multiple mirrors inside, which moves and directs your laser on the build platform. And this is how the layers are centered. So after every layer, what happens is the piston moves downwards, and this piston, the powder delivery piston, moves upwards, and roller rolls again, and then again spreads a very fine layer of material over the fabrication area, and that is how the process continues, and layer by layer the parts are printed. So as you can see in the picture also, the entire area is filled with powder. So main advantage of this technology is nothing but you don't require any support structure for your models, because it is like your part is getting printed inside your powder. So the powder, besides your main part, actually works as your support structure. And once the printing is done, this entire powder assembly comes on the top, and then you have to remove that unsintered powder, and then you will get your part. It is just like doing excavation, something like that, and then you get your actual part. So this is how the SLS technology works. So let's talk about now the SLS in healthcare. What are the applications where SLS is used? First of all, I will tell you about the materials which are used in SLS, and those are nylon based materials. So PA12 is one of the powders which is used. It is a nylon powder. Just to tell you about nylon is again a biocompatible material. So you can directly use on the patient's body. So definitely, if you see those four broad categories where this can be used, is cutting and drilling guide. So all the cutting and drilling guides majorly are printed in SLS technology. The two main reasons for that are, the first one I have already mentioned, that is, it is biocompatible. Second one, it is a very the melting point of nylon is very high, so you can put these parts into autoclave for autoclaving, and there won't be any kind of deformation in the part. So these are the advantages of this technology. Here, as you can see, the material which is PA12, that is white in color. You get different kinds of PA12 materials, which are gray or black in nature as well. Another kind of material that is used in this technology is glass filled nylon. Glass filled nylon is nothing but there will be glass particles which are infused into the material or mixed with the material, so that when the part gets printed, the mechanical property of the part already gets better. So the glass filled nylon will have higher strength resistance. At the same time, uh, normally what happens when the strength increases, the rigidity of the part also increases, but that is not the case with SLS technology or nylon powder. So even if at a very a high strength level, your SLS part will be flexible. So they are very good candidate for making guides, because you can put it on the patient's anatomy and then like place them perfectly. Because they are flexible, you can place them perfectly on the patient's anatomy. So this is how it is used in healthcare applications. Another application I can think of, where let's say if you want to make very small structures, let's say you are printing a model of a brain and vasculature inside the brain. So the vasculature, actually the diameter of the vasculature is very small, so the other technologies cannot cope up with that, and it will generate a lot of support material during printing, and while removing that support material, the part can break, or the vasculature parts can break. This is another advantage when it comes to SLS, that because there is no support structure involved, you can print very small structures, and still they will be printed properly. So this is how the SLS is used nowadays in healthcare sector. Then let's move to direct metal laser sintering. It is, as the name suggests, it is a metal printing technology. Also, the short form is DMLS. It is again in the class of selective laser sintering technology. Only thing is, instead of nylon powder, they use different kinds of metal powders. uh, so what happens is, in the DMLS technology, on the molecular level, the powder is only sintered, not melted. So you must have also heard about a technology called SLM, which is selective laser melting, in which what happens, the laser actually melts your powder and fuses to the other layer of the powder, other layer of the metal. So this is what not happens in DMLS. In DMLS, the powder is only sintered. Basically, the laser has that much power only to just fuse two metal particles. You don't have to melt them together. So this is what the difference between SLM and DMLS technologies. So let's see the working principle of DMLS. Again, very similar to SLS, as I mentioned, there will be a powder deposition system. Then there will be a build platform and fabrication area. And then on the top, there will be a laser, and there will be a XY scanning mirror system. One additional additional assembly which also is there in DMLS is nothing but the lenses, because the laser which comes out of your laser tube needs to be focused a lot to like just sinter the metal powder, because for metal the power required to sinter two metal particles is much more than your nylon. So that is why the lens assembly is also there. Again, the working principle is similar. What happens is after every layer is printed, your build platform will move down, and your metal dispenser area, the piston will move upwards, and there will be a recoater or a roller which will spread a fine layer of metal powder on your fabrication area, and the process will continue. So this is how the DMLS technology works. So how the DMLS is used in healthcare application, it is very obvious that it is used for metal implants. Uh, so there are different kinds of material which are used in DMLS technologies, but when it comes to healthcare sector, titanium is normally used. So there will be a titanium powder which will be sintered, and you can make different kinds of implants. The main advantage of this is you can fabricate your implant in such a way that it will exactly match the patient's anatomy. As you can see here, the traditional implant will not give you that flexibility, but here you have that flexibility that you can in the CAD software you can actually design your implant according to what patient anatomy should look like, and then you can print it. Another advantage when it comes to DMLS is because it is printed layer by layer, you can have different kinds of structures that can be incorporated into your implant. As you can see here on the bottom left hand side, some of the part of the implant is fully solid, or there are no holes there, but other at the other parts there will be holes. So you can design your implant in such a way that if there is a high load area, there you can have your implant very rigid without any holes, and at other parts you can have holes so that the entire weight of the implant can reduce. So this is how uh, you can design your implant. Another advantage when it comes to DMLS is it can print very very small structures. So as you can see here, it is a mesh like structure. It is also called as lattice in 3D printing industry. So this lattice actually helps for osseointegration. That means the bone will grow inside these lattices. That is how the implant is designed. The size of the pores of that lattice are designed in such a way that it will facilitate the osseointegration process. So again, this entire implant uh, uh, is made in a lattice structure. But what you can also do is some of the part can be lattice wherever required, and other part can be rigid, or other part can have holes in that, so that again the weight is reduced. You can also have osseointegration, and you also get the patient specific anatomy there. So this is how it helps nowadays in healthcare sector. This is an example of a free fibula flap surgery, wherein normally what surgeons do is after surgery they have a plate which they bend using different kind of bending tools which they have. But with the help of 3D printing technology, what you can do is you can directly design your plate in such a way that it has that shape of the mandible, and you can directly print it so that surgeons don't have to uh, uh, like bend it in the OT, and that will reduce a lot of time for them during surgery. So this is another example where it is used. If you see this, this is again a mandibular implant wherein the entire joint is replaced with the implant. And if you see on the top, the condylar region, the top part, if you see the outer area is solid, is completely solid, and there are a few holes for the screw fixation. But if you see inside, the inside part which actually touches the bone, the condyle area of the patient, that is actually designed with a lattice so that it can facilitate the osteointegration there. And again, there is one white colored part which you can see, which is nothing but your poly, which is used for the movement. So you cannot have two metal parts moving one on each other. So there is that section which is also incorporated and designed and incorporated in the implant. So this is another advantage when it comes to patient specific implants. Again, in the front side, if you see, there are different holes. So during your design process or simulation process itself, you can choose these holes or the angulation of the holes. So when you print, the screw holes are printed in such a way that the screw will only go at a certain angle. It will not move up or down. So that is also something you can do it in DMLS implants. Now let's move to color jet printing. Color jet printing is also a very old technique where the major components of a CJP printer are like core material and a binder material. So the core material is actually spread in thin layers on the build platform with the roller. And wherever you have to print a model, or if you see the cross section of your model, wherever the part needs to be solidified, there the printer will inject a binder so that that much of area is completely gets solid. So this is how the color jet printing works. So this is a image showing a working principle of your CJP part. So as you can see here, there is a print head which has which has the binder header. So from here the binder will come down. As you can see, there are droplets of binder which comes out of it. The other assembly of the printer is very similar to your SLS or DMLS technology, wherein there will be a fabrication area which is filled with your material with which you can print. The on the other side there is a feeder area, wherein the after every layer the piston will move upwards, and a roller will uh, like spread a small very thin layer of material on the fabrication area, and the process continues. So if you have to like compare between SLS, DMLS and CJP, rest of the principle is same. Only thing is, instead of laser we are using a binder material. So the binder which comes out of that nozzle, it will be spread on the area where the part needs to be solidified. That is how the CJP works. CJP, so this is a basic principle, but in the nowadays whatever printers we have, it will not have only the binder section. It will also have colors. So nowadays the printers which comes have CMYK, like 4 chambers with CMYK colors inside it. So it works very similarly to your 2D printer, wherein the ink is injected. Here also it is very similar with the binder. The four color can be mixed, and a different color can be made, and that can be injected with the binder. So this printer is capable of printing in fully in color. You In other technologies, whatever color material you are putting inside the printer, your part will be of that color. But here you can actually have colored parts. So you get around, I guess, 16 million colors in this printer. So that is, if your requirement is you want directly the printed part needs to, you don't have to color the printed part, and you want the part to be with a certain color, then you can use this technology. In this technology, normally a gypsum powder is used. So these heart models which I am showing here are of CJP technologies, and as you can see, um, the different colors with which you can print, and it looks very real colors. Main disadvantage of this technology, when it is printed, the part is very fragile. It is very powdery, because you just use a binder to bind it. So you need a lot of post processing techniques to uh, finalize your part. So normally what happens is, after printing you have to clean your part. That is also called as depowdering, because in these small structures powder gets accumulated, so you have to remove that powder. Once you remove that powder, you have to dip your entire part in a cyanoacrylate glue, which is nothing but your what we use, the Fevikwik, which we call. So you can dip this entire model into your cyanoacrylate glue, and once that is done, it gets that actual mechanical properties of the material, and also the color gets enhanced with that. So if you see before doing post production, the colors will look very powdery and whitish. um, they will have this color, but the shade is towards, like, it will be very dull. So to get that shine and actual color, you have to dip it in cyanoacrylate glue. Another advantage, if I have to say, of this technology is the gypsum powder, after curing and after post processing, it actually gives you the feeling of actual bone. So I have not incorporated any bone images here, but let's say if a surgeon wants to have a surgery before the actual surgery, like they have to try it on a model, you can give your orthopedic or bone models in this technology. So it will give actual bone like feel when they drill through the model. So this is how CJP is normally used in healthcare application nowadays. So the next technology is nothing but polyjet printing. Again, very similar to what we just saw, uh, but it is totally different in a way that you can have multiple materials. So as I have mentioned here, instead of jetting drop of inks, the printer actually jets the drops of photopolymer resin, and they are solidified by UV lights. So to tell you about the working principle of the polyjet, as you can see here, this is the jet, or this is the actual print head, which moves front and back. So there will be uh, two compartments. There will be multiple jets here in this area, and here there will be a UV light on the right hand side. The triangular structure which you can see, that is a UV light area. So as the part is getting printed, as the uh, your printhead is depositing or jetting your material, the UV light is also following um, that path and curing the material which is already uh, deposited on the build platform. Uh, Again, in this, the build platform moves down after every layer which is printed. So here you can see elevator. So elevator moves your build platform down, and as you can see, because you have multiple jets, you can print with different materials as well. So as you can see, here they have mentioned support material. So your main part is printed in some other material, and your support material is printed in another material. So in Polyjet, you get different kind of wax-based support materials. So you can directly, after printing, directly dip that part into a warm water, so that this wax-based support material gets washed, and you only get the actual part. That is how the Polyjet technology works. So these are some of the Polyjet parts which are there. So as you can see here, again, this technology also can print in different colors. Again, around 16 million colors can be used to print your parts. One major advantage of this technology is because of different materials which can be jetted at a same time. You can have uh, different properties of the materials in same part, and like you don't have to do assembly of the parts. Let's say if I have to print something in SLA, which has a mandible and mandible tumor, then mandible, you have to print it in rigid material, and tumor you have to print it in soft material, and then you have to assemble it. So your design process is also different for that. The design takes a little longer time for that. So here you don't have to do that, because you have different materials that can be jetted at a single time. You can print your parts however you want to print. So let's say the lever model which I'm showing right now, you can print your lever part uh, hard, with a hard material, hard and transparent material, and the inner part can be printed in a rigid material. That is possible with Polyjet. No other technology can do that. Uh, Another advantage I would like to tell you about that is you can change the shore hardness. So as I have mentioned in the previous slide, so a UV light is used to cure that material. So you can also change the intensity of that UV light, so that the curing of material can be made differently. So what can be done is, you can change your shore hardness of your materials in a similar part. Let's say you want to have a gradual shore hardness. So some part of the model should be, let's say, at 50 shore hardness, then the other part should be at 70. That is possible in this technology because of the varying UV lamp intensity that you can control. So that is possible here. So as you can see here, the heart model, this the veins or the vessels which you see on top of your part on your heart are actually flexible in nature, and some part, the part which you see uh, which is transparent in or translucent in nature, is rigid in nature, but all other parts are flexible in nature. That is what you can do in Polyjet. So you get very beautiful models. This is one of the best models you can see of Polyjet, wherein you can see bones inside. The bones are printed with rigid material, and the vasculature and other soft tissue organs are printed with soft materials. And at the same time, you have a transparent material as well, outside the actual parts. So this is how the PolyJet system works. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. So this is all about the 3D printing technologies and different printers which we can use in healthcare sector. So if you have any questions, please.
Yeah, participants, do you have any questions for the speaker?
Ma'am, I do have one.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
So, thank you for the presentation. It was a lot informative, and I have a few questions, like only two.
Sure.
How do you choose the material to a appropriate method? Like, what are the parameters that we have to see?
So main parameters which you have to consider when it comes to healthcare application is what is the basic application. So as I have mentioned, if you are printing a model which is used for pre-surgical planning, then surgeon may not want to take it to the OT. So you don't want, or you don't have to print your model in a material which can be sterilized, right?
Okay.
So according to that you can choose. Let's say if you are if you want a guide that needs to be printed, so that will go on the patient's body. So naturally you have to print it in a biocompatible material. So according to your applications, you can choose which kind of material and which kind of technology to use.
Okay. Is it like we can use the same material to all of the technologies that you have given, or like,
No.
for example?
So not all materials are available in all of the technologies. ABS is one of the material which is available in most of the technologies. But again, SLS is basically for nylon based materials. So you don't get any uh, you don't get any like ABS based material in SLS. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Also, in the PolyJet, or when we are using some colorful printing modules,
Yeah.
is it like the material itself? I mean, I can I use the term ink, the ink or the material?
Yes. You can say ink because
Okay,
it is in a liquid format.
okay. So the ink itself is kind of colored, or do we get to customize that according to our needs?
You can actually customize. The ink is actually not colored in nature, so again you have different color uh, uh, like materials. So you get, you let's say you have 5 materials. The main material will be transparent. There will be another material which is cyan,
Okay.
magenta, black and yellow. So
Okay.
let's say if you want to print in you want to have a certain color, these 4 materials will the like printer will analyze what color you want to print, and it will mix those color in a certain proportion, and then finally mix that portion into your main material, so that that material gets that color. This is
Oh,
how the coloring mechanism works.
okay. Okay. Sure. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, any more questions from the participants?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Question. Yeah. Hello, sir.
Speaking, sir.
I am Sachin Deshmukh. I want to ask one question.
Sure.
So you have just used the term that lattice. Okay.
Yes.
So how the particular structure is to be printed uh, uh, for body compatible material? Actually, is there any way?
So the of course the different printers have limitations. So you will know what the printer can print with what much of resolution. So according to that you have to change your lattice. So the lattice structure is basically normally printed in DMLS technology, because only DMLS can give that much of resolution. So I I guess that is how you change your lattice, the parameters of the lattice. Not all the printers can print lattice structures.
And what about how to remove the support, unwanted support, which we have created? Actually, it will be taken while printing. So that is much difficult, no?
Yes. So again, the lattice structure is designed in such a way that the angulations of the lattices are designed in such a way that you get minimal support inside. So the lattices are also oriented while printing in such a way that you don't get um, any support structure inside your lattice part. So all the support structure will be outside, which you can easily remove. So that you have to take care during your design process and during your build preparation process. That is also very important. So that is how you can make sure that no supports are there in the
Yes,
part.
yes. Could you, and last question, yes, thank you. Could you suggest any software for this, for designing purpose?
For designing, normally for lattices structure, you can use Fusion 360 is there. Then Siemens NX is there. All these softwares are very good for designing these kind of lattices.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Next
Excuse me,
speaker.
sir.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. Like
Good
my
afternoon.
question is regarding the DLMS technique.
Okay.
Like in the DLMS technique, we are specifically choosing the metals,
Correct.
and the one which you have discussed is titanium.
Right.
So, can you tell any other metals which can be used? Because biomaterials, we have many different metals being used as biomaterials. So, what are the other metals that can be used for 3D printing for healthcare?
So right now for healthcare sector, no other materials are available other than titanium. Reason being the powder which needs to be fed to the printer needs to have certain parameters. So the particle size of the material should be very low. So right now there are no other materials which are used in healthcare sector when it comes to DMLS. But when it comes to engineering, there are other materials like cobalt, chromium, aluminium. All those materials are still available that can be used.
Yes.
Inconel is another material that is available.
One other question, sir.
Yeah.
Regarding the in the mandibular reconstruction surgeries,
Yeah.
the joint part where you have two metallic parts, you told that they are rigid and you can they will be restricting the movement, and you will be using a separate construction for the ease of movement in the joint.
Right.
So the in the design, the parts which are facilitating that ease of motion, ease of movement, are they metals again?
No, they are not metals. They are actually different kinds of polymers which are biocompatible in nature. And you cannot actually 3D print those parts. Those parts are normally
Yeah, that's
manufactured using traditional technologies like CNC machining and all.
okay. Then after 3D printing, you will be
Yes,
additionally using
yes,
those
you have to,
parts for the
yes, you have to join
facilities.
those parts together.
Okay. Thank you, sir. The session was
Yeah.
very informative, and you have focused much of the materials aspect also. It was good to have a wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank
Sir, I have one question.
Sure.
Sir, can these printers be used for bioink printing also, that is depositing the cultured cells?
So the FDM kind of printers, which I showed in the presentation, they are normally used as bioprinters. Again, the extrusion systems for those printers are totally different, because when you are talking about bio inks, you can not have very abrasive extrusion systems. The extrusion systems should be very sophisticated, and normally in bioprinters the systems are controlled using air pressure. So that is how the extrusion systems are different. But you can have that same extrusion system, that extrusion system, and you can have same mechanical assembly of the FDM printer, and you can have that extruder. You can put it on your FDM printer, and you can print a bio ink. That is possibility.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
Excuse me.
participants. Yeah, please go ahead, Rohit.
Yeah, my doubt is about the metal 3D printing, sir.
Okay.
Is there any special environment required for printing the metal 3D printing? Like, can we use like FDM? We use in an open air printing, like anywhere we can print. Is there any special environment? Should be sophisticated environment should be in metal 3D printing?
So for metal 3D printing, actually, if you see the metal 3D printer, it is actually completely enclosed, and you have argon gas, which is in like once the printing start, argon gas is put inside the chamber. So that is how you control the environment of the chamber. So argon gas is required to for printing DMLS. So this is the only like a parameter you have to keep in mind.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Priyank, Dr. Prakash has a question for you.
Sure.
Sir, please go ahead, sir.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me, sir? Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to know. I just want to know whether we can fabricate by altering FDM machine into like a extrusion machine, semi-solid extrusion machine, something like that, or are there any readily available machines in India?
Yes, there are no machine. The machines are not very readily available when it comes to what you are saying. There are few FDM printers which use different kinds of materials like silicons and all those materials. They are there, but again, all these printers are still in research phase. So I don't think you will be able to use them directly for your applications. Maybe we will have to wait for some time for that to happen.
Otherwise, any such printers available for liquid extrusion or
No,
like
no,
cell
right
printing?
now not. No, right now not.
So what we see in the videos all only customized machines, or what?
Yes, or these are all customized machines. So there are some companies who are working on like bioprinters. They have their machines out in the market, but for US market, and they are not yet FDA approved. So in Indian market, there are no machines right now.
Do you have any such machines, sir?
No, we don't.
Semi-solid extrusion or something?
No, we don't.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Priyank, Dr. Prakash was also an expert speaker in our panel. He has given an excellent talk on pharmaceutical applications on the first day.
Correct.
Yeah. Any more questions, please? Yeah, I think if there are no questions, thank you very much, Mr. Priyank. It was a wonderful session. I have been a witness to that, and I also can get that from the questions you have got. I think sir wants to ask Dr. Prakash another question. Sir, please go ahead.
Mr. Priyank, I don't know whether I could ask on this platform, but could you help us in any such projects where we can collaborate or something like that?
Sure, sir. Right now, we like nothing is in my mind, or we are working on similar projects right now. The company is not working on any similar projects, but surely something like that is there on our future projects. So once we start that, we will be like we will be happy to collaborate on those projects.
I'll be in touch with Malini madam regarding any contact details.
Sure, you can have my contact.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure, sir. Sure. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Priyank. I think you had so many number of questions. I think participants were very active during your session. Thank you so much for the wonderful session.
Thank you for
Okay,
having me.
hope, yeah. Hope we'll collaborate in near future.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Yeah.
Malini madam, also thank you for to you also. You have selected a very nice guest speakers
Yeah.
in this program. Thank you for that.
Okay, sir. Thank you. It's my pleasure. Yeah. I have a few instructions for the participants. Yeah, this session is going to end here, and we'll meet at 2:15 for the next session. And I request the participants to join and be interactive. I think that makes the speaker, because most of us are teachers here. You know how good we feel when our students are going to interact. So I want all of you to be active and then interact with the speakers, because we have, as Mr. Sachin has told, excellent speakers. Because they are the ones who are in the field. So please take maximum benefit out of this FTP. Okay. Yeah, we'll please. Actually, you can fill the attendance sheet which is posted in the chat box, and we'll meet again at 2:15 for the next session. Okay. Thank you so much.
Malini madam, one request from my side.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yeah, sure.
So
Yes,
I
sir.
miss some attendance link actually due to network. In the morning I have said. So
Today?
how I can fill those?
Yeah, I'll just ask Mr. Harish, sir. He is looking into that. I'll just
Okay.
let you know. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah.